Peace, welcome back to another episode of the Money Codes. My name is Joel, here to give you today's money code fix. Now, you can see I'm on the whiteboard today. I stepped away from the computer. Today we're going to be talking about what is the difference between your statement close date and your due date as it pertains to building up a solid credit profile. So if you are new to this channel, we talk about concepts like this regularly. We talk about how to build your credit, how to repair it, how to leverage it, how to actually get different cards, different trade lines. What can we do as consumers to use laws like the FCRA to make our credit profiles as strong as possible? Why? Because we want our credit profiles to look as sexy as possible in the eyes of FICO, in the eyes of the financial institutions. That way we can get low interest rates on credit cards, on our mortgages. We're able to do things like leverage our credit for our businesses. There's so much that we can do when we have a solid credit profile. However, in order for us to get a solid credit profile, we got to learn some basics. There are some basic concepts that we got to understand and be comfortable with. Otherwise, it's going to be our Achilles heel in our credit card journey. So first things first, you can see here I have a timeline, and hopefully you can see the small print. But these are the real life dates that are on my Capital One Spark business card. So you can see here the due date is on the 13th. So that means the 13th of every single month, Capital One wants me to pay them something. There's always a minimum payment that they always send me in the mail on my statement that I can pay, or if I want to, I can pay the entire balance. If I decide on the 13th of every single month to pay off my balance, meaning in the month of May, I spent $200 at lunch. On the 13th, I pay it off completely. That means when they close down my statement, the end of my statement date, I don't have to pay any interest. As long as I pay off my entire balance on every due date, I don't have to pay any interest. This way I'm able to accumulate rewards points. I'm able to accumulate so many different perks that come from any of my credit cards. And if I pay it off at the due date, I don't pay any interest. So that's a win for me. What about the statement date, right? So we already know the due date. As long as I pay this, as long as I pay the credit card company something on every 13th, meaning I never go past the 13th without paying Capital One either the minimum payment that they're requesting or the balance, they're going to report my credit card positive every single month to the credit bureaus. That's good. Remember, 35% of what makes up our credit score is, do I pay my bills on time? Do I pay my bills on time? They're not really worried about how much I'm paying. We're going to get to that in a second. But do I pay my bills on time? That's 35% of what makes up my credit score. So the second biggest thing that makes up our credit scores is the utilization. And the utilization is the most important on your statement close date. The statement close date, this is when Capital One says, all right, this billing cycle is over. How much did Joe spend? Did Joel leave a balance on his credit card? If so, all of that information, all of the numbers, all of the interest, everything gets calculated. And then they send me a statement in the mail or they email it to me, whichever one that you're usually accustomed to. They send me a statement, and I have most people have about 21 to 25 days from the time that they close down. From the time that they close down that billing cycle, I have about 21 to 25 days to go ahead and pay it on the following month. So here's a scenario, and you let me know what the answer is in the comments. So let's say in May, I spent $500, and then on my due date on the 13th, I paid that $500 off. So on the 13th of May, I had no balance whatsoever. Paid it off because I'm thinking I'm doing a good job. Capital One wanted me to pay them, I paid them off completely. But let's say hypothetically, a friend of mine called me on the 14th or the 15th, and they said, yo, we're going out this weekend. Let's live it up. and I say, bet, I just paid off my Capital One card on the 13th. I know I'm not late. So on the 15th, let's say it was a Friday. So on the 15th, I go to a weekend trip with them and I max out my card. I'm not late because I paid on the 13th, but on the 15th, I decide to max out my card. And let's say the statement date is the 18th or the 19th. So the statement date comes and goes with me maxing out my card, me maxing out my credit card. What's going to happen in June when Capital One sends over the information of what I did? Because remember, this is the snapshot that they send over to the credit bureaus. What's going to happen to my credit score? Some people are going to say, well, I paid my bill on time every single month. I mean, I pay it every 13th. I pay my bills on time, so I should have a great credit score. What they're not realizing is because they let the statement date come and go, the statement close date came and went, and I still kept a high balance, meaning that $1,000 credit card that I had, I spent up $999 going to restaurants, going to lounges. I was living my best life. What Capital One is going to do, they're going to take that snapshot of me with a maxed out credit card and they're going to send it to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and that is going to plummet my credit score. It's going to plummet it because now when I check Credit Karma, it's going to show Joel has a Capital One card and he is at 99% utilization. So this is why I'm always emphasizing, make sure that everything you do with your credit card, spend it, live up your life, do whatever you got to do. If you want to do manufacturer spend, if you want to, ball till you fall on your credit cards and accumulate points. I don't care necessarily what it is that you do. I want you to understand when you do any of these actions, make sure that you're aware how it's going to impact your score. So when the due date comes, I just don't want you to pay only your minimum payment. That's like the bare minimum. Put your bank account, set that up to attach to your credit card, and at minimum, let them take out the minimum payment so that you don't get any late fees, right? But ideally, you want to pay a little bit more. But more importantly, when it comes to your credit profile and your credit score, pay attention. Call your credit card issuer today. If you have multiple credit cards, call all of them up and say, when is my due date? When is my statement close date? Have that written down somewhere. Put a Siri reminder on your phone. Make sure that you're understanding when the statement close date is for your credit card, because a couple of days after this day, that's when they're going to send it off to the credit bureaus, and that's how you're going to have a maxed out utilization when you're thinking you're doing a good job just by paying on your due date. So you see how the game works? So whatever the statement close date is for you and your card, make sure that whatever your balance is on that date, you are comfortable with that balance reporting to the credit bureaus. So hopefully you have an understanding of how this works, the difference between just your due date, which I think most people get the importance of your due date. It's due, you got to pay something, hopefully pay more, minimize the interest that you're paying. Hopefully if you can pay it all off. And that's another thing. Some people say, pay off your balance every single month. That's what some people say. I hear that in Clubhouse chat rooms. I hear that online. I hear that in forums. That could be a double-edged sword. Here's why. We're back in May again. The due date comes 13th. I pay off my balance completely. I'm scared to use this card because I've been listening to people on MSNBC tell me that credit card is evil. So I never use this card. Or if I do use it, I pay it off immediately. It's paid off immediately and it's always at zero. So Capital One is always reporting to Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Joel has a zero balance. Joel has a zero balance. Joel has a zero balance. Every single month, I'm only reporting a zero balance. That is not really good when it comes to the eyes of FICO. Now, I have a video on this YouTube channel. I forget the name. I'll link that somewhere above, where I actually talk about the FICO reason codes. There are a whole bunch of different reasons. I'm basically going over all of the background concepts. Things like if you have too many retail cards, or if you have too many months consecutively with your balance reporting as zero. There are certain things that FICO does not like. And when the lenders go to FICO and when they pull your credit report and they're looking at you and they're trying to decide, should I give you money? They don't really like to see people have 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, like for months and months and months and months and months on that. They don't really like seeing that. It makes sense for you because you don't want to pay any interest. And I get that. However, sometimes we got to pay a little something just to make sure that FICO and these lenders understand that we know how to take care of our funds, that we know how to take care of our credit cards, because they don't want to lend out money to people that isn't going to use their money, right? You got to think how a lender thinks. So what is another misconception? You don't even need to read this. I'll read this out loud. But paying early, does paying my bill early help? Not really. Not really. So let's say I paid on the 10th, then I paid again on the 12th, and then I paid on the 13th. There really is no scoring factor that says Joel pays 5 times in a month. He's a better borrower. There really isn't anything like that. What you can do is try to make multiple payments per month just to make sure that you're not going crazy with your budget. That makes sense, but you're not really going to see a FICO increase just based off of the fact that you pay more than once in a month, at least in the FICO sense. Remember, all this information I'm presenting is how to look good in the eyes of FICO and the lenders. Should I pay down to 0? I already went over that. We do not want to have just 0, 0, 0, 0 every single month. We want to switch it up. Always leave, again, this is why I say between 1 and 9%. You don't got to leave a whole bunch of money. Leave 20 bucks on a card sometime just to have something reporting. Show some utilization. What happens if I miss a payment? So again, due date is the 13th. My statement close date is on the 19th. They give me 21 to 25 days to pay it. You want to make sure that you do not miss your payments, because if you read the fine print on any of your statements, they can penalize you with a super high APR, right? So always at bare minimum, just make sure you have your bank account linked to your credit card so that on every 13th, at least the bare minimum, you're taking care of the minimum payment. Okay, so what are the action steps? Number 1, call your credit card issuer and know your dates. Call every single credit card that is in your wallet or your purse. Ask them, Capital One, Chase, Amex, when's my due date? When's my statement close date? Understand all those dates for your credit cards. Keep track of your utilization. If you're going to be spending money, make sure that that statement date, make sure that you are comfortable and you are okay with whatever balance is posting on this date. All right, and also keep in mind too, for those that are trying to be slick, if you're trying to go out and party before that statement date, sometimes it takes a couple of days for your payments to process and then to post. So when it comes to your statement date, if my statement close date was the 18th, I want to go ahead and make sure my balance, I'm okay with my balance, probably by like the 14th or the 15th max, right? I'm going to have at least a couple of days buffer, because if you try to wait until the last minute, like 11:59 the day before, you know, credit cards, they don't work that way, especially around holidays, especially over weekends. You got to give yourself at least a couple of days of wiggle room. And then number 3, auto pay. I already went over that. Make sure your bank account is linked up. That's pretty much it. If you stick to the script, if you make sure that you are paying every single month on your due date, if you are aware of your statement close date, and you're always reporting a balance of between 1 to 9%, if you do this over time, your scores are going to see the benefits of it, right? This is not an overnight process, but if you stick to this script, your credit score is going to thank you, all right? That's all I got for you for today. If you liked the video, if you got some gems from it, go ahead, like and subscribe, leave some comments down below. I'm going to check you out in the next video. Peace.